got a good session for you today. I'm going to break in a couple of different pieces. The first thing I want to do is talk about last month's session and do a reflection on last month's session. So if you want to turn to your notes from last month. And that's when we had, I think it was 6 or 7 of our brightest and best alumni were on the panel. And we were talking about jobs and we were talking about school. After we talked about jobs, after we talked about school. And we had some very good discussions. So, tell me what impressed you the most about your 6 or 7 friends from college. Come on. Their honesty. Didn't sugarcoat anything. Straight up. Right. Anywhere you go, any college you go to, you're not going to be baby. It's your responsibility. I think it was Matt Kinwell who said, you don't want to do the work, you don't do the work. And it's up to you. So, and I know with my son, he had to go seek out the teachers to make sure he was getting everything he wanted. I think in early college it's probably a lot easier. You've got a lot of help here. You've got this nice little bubble in the school. And in a big college campus, you're running all over, chasing professors down, trying to get answers and things. So it's a lot. Anybody else? Anybody else? I think Zach said take charge, right? Take charge. Matt actually said they don't care. I'm not sure if they don't care. They just treat you like big adults, and that's kind of the way it is. Somebody talked about the Career Center, that seek out a Career Center. They have resumes, which we'll talk about in a little bit, mock interviews, things like that that are eligible for you. Somebody said do not work, if you choose to work while you're going to college, they're recommending don't work over 10 hours. I would say that's pretty close, 10 or 12 hours. Remember, every credit hour you take in college requires about 2 hours a week studying. So if you take 15, could spend somewhere around 25, 30 hours studying. So you do the math, 15 and 30 is 45. Doesn't leave a lot of hours left for work and for some downtime. So be very cautious. I would also recommend, and I just talked to Matt Sigley, and I think it's good. Matt did an apprenticeship at Smucker's this year, and they're offering him to stay on during college. Matt has opted out the first semester because he'll have more flexibility in his second semester to give them the hours. So Matt's going to concentrate on school for the first semester. That's probably a pretty good idea too. Okay? Get off on the wrong foot, I can guarantee you it's tough to get out of the spiral. I have a lot of examples, real life examples that I can give you of people who started off and it just went downhill. By the way, going downhill could mean you don't make it through college, and on top of that, incur a whole bunch of extra bills, which usually doesn't sit well. What else? Anything else impressed you about? No? Nobody else was impressed. Put your drink down and you turn your back. He said, don't pick it up. Chelsea. Good, I like that. Whatever your ACT score is, it's not good enough. It's not that it's not good enough. If you take it once, it's probably shame on you, you don't take it twice. Take it twice, take it a third time. Some people take the ACTs and the SATs. They do test out a little bit differently. Schools will accept both. You may come up stronger in one than the other. Every single point means more money. Every single point means more money. When you fill the FAFSA out, you send it in, there is a difference between a 23, a 24, 25 ACT. Denny, you had something?
Just that every single one of them said, don't even think about drugs.
Don't even think about drugs. I think it was EJ who said, just don't do it. I know that's a cliche. You know, I was shocked the other day. These candidates are going to Iowa and New Hampshire, the two big states. So they were asking what the biggest issue in New Hampshire was. And does anybody guess what the biggest issue in New Hampshire is? That they want to ask these politicians? How do you stop the heroin use? I guess it's rampant. I didn't know. They said heroin is cheaper than pot right now, and once you're hooked, it's really bad. An average in New Hampshire, an average of one person a day is overdosing on heroin. Just don't do it. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I think he said it the best. Anybody else? Is that it? Yes, Ken.
They did mention, and you probably hit on a little bit about the importance of your syllabus and following that. That is like a contract, a binding document. You guys get a head start in that you do follow it from 9th grade on. It starts out with smaller classes, like 1 or 2 in your freshman year. Doesn't affect anybody here. But as you go on through your college life, the high school teachers are doing it too. That syllabus is very important. Keep the information and also follow that, because the professor does not have to tell you that a test is coming up in a reminder. You have to pay attention to that document, and you have to follow that, and now it's the time to practice.
I know a lot of students who came up 1 or 2 credits short, and they were mad at the advisors, and they were mad at everybody. They were mad at everybody in the school except themselves, and they were not watching it. You need to be like a CEO of your syllabus and your credits and everything. You need to take charge. It needs to be yours. Online shopping, somebody said, watch out. Watch out. By the way, the seniors, so not only are you walking out with laptops and printers, but you got a gift card too in there to get you started on some paper and ink and things from Staples. So, but that's a cap. You can't charge. You can't charge to the max. But, Mrs. B made sure that you can shop online. You don't have to go to the store. So it doesn't matter whether you have a Staples while you're in college. You can go online and do it. What's that, Ken?
No, I'm celebrating. I'm saying they are.
I think the other thing was how important was written and verbal communication and emailing, and I think they all said it is extremely important. And we still have some students, I'm sorry to say, that I'm not answering their emails. I got a call yesterday from Mr. Sypak, and he said, hey, if you see so-and-so, I sent 2 or 3 emails and they haven't responded. So, you guys got to get on board, and you know, especially you have no excuses because you have free laptops. So at least our alumni have excuses. You guys don't have any excuses. All right. So with that, Mrs. Bruner, What do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about Infinite Scholars for a few minutes, or what do we want to talk about? Okay, come on. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Can you hear me now? Yeah. Okay, now I can hear. How's everyone doing today? Good. It's a hot day. A little toasty out there, but we'll make it. Hey, want to make sure you guys get some information. The school year ready to get started. We're looking at a lot of good information that you're going to need. One thing is the Infinite Scholarship. It's a fair that we're going to be a part of. We're going to be able to go to. It's in Cleveland on September 11th. It's on a Friday. So it's right after school. It starts at 3 and then they end around 6 o'clock. This thing's crazy. But we're planning on that. So if anyone is interested, I had 2 people so far get back with me by email. And I have those names, and I'll keep you up to date on what we're going to do and what the transportation looks like. If anyone else is interested, please contact me by email. You can text me or you can call me.
How many juniors and seniors are interested? Okay, so we got a lot more than 2.
Right.
How about when you're done talking, I'll ask again, they can raise their hand and jot that name.
All right.
So, my understanding of this,
I'll have to check on
my understanding of this is they need an ACT score, is that correct?
it. That's correct. Yes, there's a long list of things they'll need, and I'll give them all that information.
Okay. We, between now and 9/11, we're prepared to get you to take the ACT and get a score. We have the forms to fill out, and then we'll have transportation down, okay? But I wouldn't pass up this opportunity. Yes, Jenny?
The next ACT is September 8th, so for September 12th.
We are talking about testing at, where are we testing, Kent? Where can they take the test for that date?
They were talking about Kent having something to do with it, or Stark State, I believe.
We can get tested at Kent, all right? We'd like to do that in the next 2-3 weeks. Okay? Yes. Yes.
But
Yeah, Camp's gonna pay for it.
I love you guys.
He's got a high 5, that got a low 5 for Dave. Yeah. Okay, so when you're done, we can raise the hand, so.
That's basically what I wanted to say.
Is that it?
Yes.
Okay, so raise your hands again. Keep them up so Mrs. Bruner can, I'll read them off. Anisha, Tessa,
she thought she has an insert right now.
Anisha, Tessa, DK, Lashana, Jack, Megan, Mackenzie, Chelsea, Gabe, Kayla, Natasha. I think you already have Chelsea. I'm sorry? Gabe, Kayla, Natasha, Chelsea. I've got Jada, Viv. Did you raise your hand there? Okay. Jonathan? And Logan. Did I miss anybody? No? Brooklyn, yeah. Brooklyn's going like this. I think she's raising her hand. She's gone. She's out of here. Okay, very important for the October session. We have to move it. The Caddy Scholarship Program, Caddy Scholarship Golf Tournament will take place on the 18th. We do this every year. We had to change it last year, so our October camps date is now October 25th. it is my hopes at that meeting that we'll bring Daniel Tessau back, and we will have a big session for the juniors and seniors. I'm going to work something out for the sophomores, juniors and seniors, and maybe everybody. And Daniel's going to work with the group on a spreadsheet that and how we attack raising funds and scholarships. Daniel's paying for a year at Mount Union. Daniel's fees are down to $26 for the year. So that's how much he's paying. And we want to listen to this young man and let him do it, okay? It might not exactly be transferable. Mount Union does have a good camp scholarship. I think it's $10,000 for one and $7,500 for another. But he also did a lot of other things with multicultural scholarships, blessed, and other things that are available. We want to see how Daniel did this. I am really interested in how Daniel did this, okay? And if nothing else, the spreadsheet I know is terrific. I mean, it's a way to attack going after each individual line on room and board and tuition and so on and so forth. So, okay. With that, we did Infinite Scholars, right? At the October meeting. Okay. With that, Megan Montgomery is back again. She loves us. She can't get enough. And she dragged her sister along with her. Chelsea Foster, who was, I'll call her Megan's kind of overriding supervisor running the camp program over at Freshmark, could not make it today. She wanted to be here. She could not make it, but she's worked closely with Megan. Megan's going to talk to you about resumes. Now, what you have from me and what we've been able to do, I call a profile. You can call it a resume. It's pretty decent outline structure for the beginning of a resume. What Megan's going to talk to you about is, okay, now you're in college, you've got a couple of jobs under your belt. By the way, some of you that I'm working with, and this is not a knock, you haven't had jobs yet. So there isn't a job resume put together. That's why we call it a profile. We talk about skills, we talk about where you want to be in the next 3 to 5 years, 1 to 2 years, 3 to 5 years, and so on and so forth. We have a profile. She's going to talk to you about a resume. Megan, ready? Welcome, Megan Montgomery. I would be moving around too much. You saw this. It kind of cuts out.
Can you hear me? Yes. Hello? Hello? Yeah, I'm here. I don't believe no, I've never actually presented on Google Slides. Oh, it's on the corner. Nope. Okay, okay, hello, my name is Megan. As Mr. B said, I worked at Freshmark this summer, and while working there, Chelsea Foster, who is, I consider my expert consultant on this, helped me kind of take my student profile to make a resume and a CV, which we'll talk about later. And so I hope she could be here, but she can't. She's having some drama with her apartment down in Athens. So she could not be here, so I'm going to do the best I can to kind of explain this to you in the way she explained it to me. This was very legible on my computer screen at home. Doesn't appear too legible now, but that's all right because most of it's in black anyway. Okay, so what is a resume? A resume is basically just a summary of everything that you've accomplished in your professional career. So whether that's your education, your work experience, your skills, awards and certificates that you receive, and it's just kind of a detailed emphasis on all of that. So it explains A little bit about what you do if you have a major in college and then you've taken a class that doesn't necessarily pertain to it. Somebody wouldn't necessarily think that you took it, but you did. You can include that on there, and it just kind of helps give an overall idea of who you are as an applicant. And it's important because this is what employers use not to hire you, but to find a reason to not bring you in for an interview. Employers and funds and programs receive hundreds of applications, hundreds of resumes, and they look at this sheet of paper to kind of figure out whether or not you would be a good fit or not. So it's one sheet of paper. They don't normally ever see your face. They never talk to you. They just see this. This is the first thing that they see and the first thing that they use to discern whether or not they want you for their company, their program, their scholarship, or whatnot. So you can use it to apply to competitive programs. As Mr. V said, not a lot of people, especially in high school, have a lot of work experience or a lot of relevant work experience to include. And so it's nice, though, to have it if you're applying to a competitive college, if you're applying to a competitive program in a college, like a nursing school, especially like at Kent State. I know my sister's a nurse, so she went to this Kent State START program, and that's one of the most preferred programs in Northeast Ohio, maybe Kent State, I'm not quite sure. She's the nurse, I'm not. So even then it's helpful, even if you're just applying for a regular part-time job, it kind of shows that you're going the extra mile to apply for the job rather than just kind of presenting what they want to know. And it's a professional habit to get into, because later on, as you're applying to more and more jobs after college, you're going to need a resume. So it's nice to start now, so it's not so overwhelming once you get there. And so it's actually very simple to go from the student profile you have to go to a resume. It's just more detailed. You use a lot more things that are descriptive. So, for instance, I audited this summer. You know, it's not, I didn't go through, I didn't check something, I audited. And so it's just kind of more of a, it's just kind of more of a way to take ownership of what you've done, if that makes sense. It's a way to kind of show that you took initiative on something and that it made a greater impact on the company or the program after you left it than when you had started. And so basically the way to take it from the profile to the resume is just to add detail and add it about yourself. And I can show you my resume later. I don't have a printer at home, so it's on my computer. And so moving on from a resume, you have your curriculum vitae. I'm not quite sure if that's how you pronounce that Latin word, but it's commonly referred to as a CV. And a CV normally is something only graduate students have, because it includes things like teaching experience, research experience, publications, presentations, grants, and awards. But it's also something that more and more undergraduates and before are kind of getting into, because it's longer than a resume. A resume should only be 1 page long, but a CV is supposed to be a minimum of 2 pages long. And so it adds more than just work experience. You have volunteer experience. You have programs you've been a part of, things like camp. Whereas on a resume, you would have it as maybe an award or a program. On a CV, you would detail kind of what camp is and what you do in camp and the volunteering that you do in camp and things like that. So a CV is normally more detailed. And so it's kind of a nice thing to get into the practice of, because you can go into more in-depth experience of what you have in it. You can have more headings than just education, than just work experience. You can do things that you're planning on doing in the future. So if you've been accepted into a program, you can put that on the CV. And so basically this is kind of what, when I was talking to Mr. V, because he doesn't really want anyone to stress out about doing a resume, because you don't really need it yet. It's a good idea to have, and it's a good idea to start something that looks like a resume and that can act like a resume, but you don't necessarily have the requirements that people want on a resume. And so on a CV, especially an undergraduate CV, because it doesn't have to include all of these things, because unless you have a minimum of 6 years of college, you don't really have any of these things. So it's a good idea to kind of get into, because you can record the things that you've done now. So if you volunteer for Habitat for Humanity, you can detail that now, so that 5 years down the road, when you're applying to that dream job of yours, you can remember what you've done from the beginning to the end for Habitat, to show kind of how you've grown with that organization, show what you can do to grow with their organization. So this is more a little bit about it. So scholarships and grants are great things to put on CVs because it shows that some other organization has kind of recognized you for what you've done. And then when you apply to a scholarship or grant further on, because there are scholarships for sophomore and junior and senior year of college, it can kind of show how involved you've been. And really that's what they're looking for, because I know in high school everyone says be involved because it helps for college, but in college you really need to be involved because it helps for after college. Because the more diverse you are and the more diverse your experiences, the more companies are going to be attracted to you. So including involvement makes it easier to remember now, which is kind of, it's not a true CV, what I'm talking about, it's not a true CV that I have, but it is a CV in the way that it's something I'm using to record what I've done now, so that I have an easier way of describing it later on. So when I have to write a cover letter, or when I have to write and say why I want to get into this program, or I want to say why I think I'm a good fit for this company, as I'm applying to internships and to jobs, it's easier to look back on this and say, well, this is what I've already done. And so it's easier to remember it now because I did it now, than if I were to go, a few months even down the line. I was recording what I did for Howard Hanna when I was working there, and I was writing for like 5 minutes before I actually remembered what I did in one of the programs there, because I never wrote it down before. And so I was like, oh, I did that. And so I know it doesn't, this all seems really abstract, and I know, because you're all giving me these like really blank faces, and I don't know if it's just because I'm really boring or because you just don't really care. But it's so much easier. It's like writing a paper almost. You do the pre-write because the teacher tells you you have to do the pre-write for the paper. But if you really admit it to yourself, it kind of helps down the line when you did the pre-write because you have all your things organized in a simple way. And so that's really what the CV and the resume are. And when you start thinking about it now, see, you're giving me that smile. I don't know if you're giving me that smile because you're catching on or because you think it's weird. When you kind of record all these things and you use all these things, it makes it easier to remember later on. And that's what you want to do. You want to remember what you did, because everything you've done in your past is going to impact how a company, how a program, how a job, how a scholarship is going to think that you are going to impact whatever they're trying to give you. Whether it's for a position, whether they're giving you money, whether they're giving you experience, whatever it is, whatever you have done, they want to know, essentially, because they want to know what makes you different from all of the other applications that they've received. So if everyone, the night before they apply to a job, says, well, I went to this school and I participated in this program and I was in this program, but nobody actually says what they did. So like, if you were in Model UN, so you're like, well, I was a delegate from Model UN and I went to the convention in Columbus, and I helped write the resolution for Model UN. Anyone that was in Model UN did that. So what did you specifically do in Model UN that made your group, your country, better than everyone else's? So what did you specifically add to that resolution that would have made it better than if you hadn't done it? And I use Model UN because that's specifically early college. If you were, I don't remember other things. In NHS, did you organize anything? If you were in junior cast, were you in charge of any specific event? Lots of people volunteer. Lots of people are involved. So what did you specifically do in that involvement that makes you better than the person's resume that they looked at before you and that they're going to look at after you? And that's really why I wanted to do this, because I didn't have that. On my profile, it was just kind of like, well, I worked at Howard Hanna, and I input listings, and I input sales, and I was in Model UN, and I did this, and I was in speech and debate, and I did this. And when I looked at it, and when Chelsea had me look at it, I realized that anyone that did any of that was going to do exactly those same things. There was nothing different about what I did with those than what they did. It was just, oh, I was in a lot of different things. And so that's really what I want you to start thinking about. And I'm not telling you, come here, oh, you have to have a full resume done by the end of the day, and you have to have a 4-page CV done. it's just to start getting you thinking about what makes you unique, what makes you special, what makes a company or organization or scholarship or fund going to want you because of what you've done. And that's really the essence of the resume or the CV, or when you write a cover letter, that's the essence of it, is why